Welcome to the RP Show, a very special edition of the show. It's become an annual thing. It's our Boca Raton Bowl preview special. The roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl. It's tonight, not here. We're in Pompano Beach, which is just down the road. We're at the Beach House. It's our special occasion venue, and which would make you, Andrew Nowacki, feel very special because you just show up for special occasion shows. How are you, man?
Good.
Veteran of the CFL, the NCAA, 8 seasons with the Edmonton Eskimos, Grey Cup champion. And listen, I know it's December, but it's bowl season. It's also hockey season. You like hockey.
Yeah.
You're Canadian.
Absolutely.
Stony Creek.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's not what I brought you here for, by the way. He's not here to talk hockey, but there's a lot of people writing in about tonight's hockey games. We're going to push that. Segments 3 and 4 of hour 2, we'll talk about hockey. We're here to talk about football today, and I appreciate everybody chiming in. 902-518-3033 is the text line, Silver Carpenter text line. Wonderful chat with Matt Dubuck in hour 1. His kid Trey's playing tonight for the University of South Florida Bowls against Syracuse in the Boca Bowl. Andrew, the reason I thought of you for the Boca preview was you were putting on Facebook the other day your college football playoff predictions.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember what they were because everybody had them.
Right.
Were you close? Did you have them?
I made predictions on the games, on the conference championship games, not
I thought it was a Final
CFP.
Four. Oh, no?
Yeah,
okay.
I had Louisville beating Florida State, and we all know how that
didn't happen.
No, not even close. But I think I got 3 of the 4 right.
Of the 4, and it's been literally weeks since they announced Washington, Texas, Alabama, Michigan. It's been weeks since they're still talking about it.
Sure. We're making a big stink of it here in the state of Florida.
It's unbelievable.
Listen, someone's always going to be pissed off in this format. You know, it's an imperfect format, what they got going on now. And even when they expand it, there's always going to be teams that are upset, schools that are upset, because there's always going to be
12 teams next year.
The outside looking in. You know, teams that are ranked 13, 14, 15 next year are going to be upset that they didn't get in. So, you know, it's going to be tough. I'm glad they're expanding it. We need an expansion, get these great teams at the top facing off, and who knows where college football is going to go from here.
It's chaotic. Do you feel it? Do you feel the heat coming off it?
Oh, yeah.
It's not good. Can't be good, this amount of arguing, is it?
Bad publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Good point.
I think it's drawing a lot of attention to the game. The powers that be, all these conference commissioners, they're going to have a job on their hands to figure out how to best bring this thing together.
So that ocean you see behind Andrew's reel, that's not a green screen. It's windy as heck here, and he's been good enough to join us for 2 segments. So we can talk about all those things I previewed last hour. NFL, Canadian Football League, and then college football. Whatever you want. 902-518-3033 is the number if you're watching on television or radio. If you're watching on the streaming, you can write in on YouTube right now. I do want to mention this, though, with the Boca Bowl tonight, which it's just Canadians don't really understand it, other than the Vanier Cups played in venues that doesn't feature the local team. But tonight, South Florida versus Syracuse, what do you think this wind's going to do? What are these conditions are going to have on the game?
It's tough. Wind is probably the worst weather condition that I despise playing in, being a receiver and trying to catch the ball and trying to get on the same page with, the quarterback and everything else. But, I remember playing a game in Saskatchewan. It was so windy. We would punt the ball and they would blow the play dead when the ball stopped moving forward. And we actually had a punt in that game that landed behind our punter's position. So wind can wreak havoc on football games.
Interesting you say that, though, because Dubuck last hour said as a coach he'd rather take wind than rain. What would you rather play in versus if you had the choice?
Rather play in?
Yeah.
Between those two? I'd rather play in the rain. At least you know what's coming and you can prepare for it. The wind is so unpredictable. I mean, ball could be coming to you and then gust of wind blows and ball shoots down. And, I think there's a better workaround more running, shorter passing. Your body catches in the rain, whereas in the wind, you're just kind of, it's tough.
So the interesting thing that I've found, and I've been here long enough now, observing all you guys, I try and tell the Canadian people, you probably had these discussions for years because you grew up in Ontario, and maybe you didn't. Football's football to the people here. It doesn't matter if it's NFL, CFL, college, high school, they all respect each other, right? If you're in the game, you're in the game, right? Like you talk about you and DeBuck's relationship, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What is it? Just tell our viewers about it.
So we kind of connected when I moved down here. I knew Matt was coaching at Cardinal Gibbons. So we became, friendly just through the game. The game brings a lot of people together. And when I was released that year, Matt said, he called me up and said, why don't you come out and help us out with the team? So I did that first year off. We had a great group of guys. Matt did a phenomenal job with the team that year. And I think our top 3 receivers all went to big-time colleges. So it was neat. But, I pop into practice every now and then just to watch and be able to enjoy what he does from a fan's perspective more than anything.
Did that give you just enough of a taste of coaching that you said, I don't want to do this full time, or what?
I've always had a big respect for coaches. They put in a ton of hours that go unseen, probably twice the amount of hours that we do as players. And there is a really high commitment. My brother-in-law's a coach at UCF now, and seeing the amount of work that he does and on the road and recruiting and game planning and everything else, it takes a lot of dedication.
Volatile, and I feel like now it's worse than ever in terms of there's no loyalty, there's no security.
Yeah.
You got a family, mind you, so do the coaches. But I mean, you're doing real estate though.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
No, but it's nothing in comparison to what these guys do. And my brother-in-law was in town just the other day recruiting. He was here for a hot minute, got his plane ticket, was out the next morning, and that's his life for weeks at a time in the off season. So, no comparison there, but ton of respect for these guys, and it has gotten more difficult with transfer portal and all these extras that you guys talked about in the last segment.
That's why I don't necessarily begrudge the transfer portal and the coaches switching, because there's no loyalty shown to them. So why should they show the loyalty to their schools or their employers? But again, everybody has a different opinion on that. Andrew Nowacki played in the Canadian Football League for, it's 8 seasons, right? 04 to 11, all with the Edmonton Eskimos, won the Grey Cup in 05. And I'll open the floor to questions from the audience. I didn't bring my gong, John, in Winnipeg, but I'll answer your question or ask it for you. He says, Andrew, what's the toughest CFL stadium to play in? Is it Saskatchewan? And he's a Rider fan from Winnipeg. It's the toughest stadium. I'm assuming he means to win in your time.
Atmosphere-wise, I mean, all these new stadiums now, I don't know, what their configurations and everything else. The old Saskatchewan stadium that I only played in, or the only one that I knew there, that was by far the loudest, the craziest. The fans were always packed that stadium, and they let you hear it all game long. So it was a really cool atmosphere. It was a neat atmosphere to play in. That and probably Winnipeg as well. I don't know why our time in Edmonton, it was just one of those stadiums where we didn't have a lot of success there. So different reasons. So the success level in Winnipeg, but the atmosphere, the crowd, and the noise level in Saskatchewan was the toughest.
By the way, I think Edmonton is our number 3 region for viewership and highest viewership. So they all know you very well. Everybody loves Andrew Nowacki. Whenever I say he's coming on, everybody's excited. I wonder, because it's been a couple of years since you've been on. Edmonton's done this. I don't think they won a game since you were on, Andrew, at home. Yeah.
It's tough.
How's that
tough
playing over for you?
It's tough to hear, tough to see. I know Coach Jones and some of their staff, and they got a good group of people there. I have no idea. I wish I could
What does it
give
feel
some sort
like?
of
I'm not saying what's the way out of it, but what's it like as an alum?
It's tough. It's really tough to see. It's tough for the people in the building, the people behind the scenes, the administrative staff, and all of those people, because it affects everybody. So it's hard to see, and just hope that this year coming is a big turnaround year, and we get things headed in the right direction.
It sounds like there's a lot of change going on in Edmonton. They're talking about getting a private owner in place by 2025, and Rick Lawlisher was running the show when you were there, right? He's now the president again, interim, and he goes, if I could wave a wand or snap my fingers, I'd like a new stadium here. I'm like, well, get in line. A lot of places would, but how do you feel about that? Did they say Commonwealth's too big, or whatever the reason might be? It can't be out of date.
I think it's...
Maybe it is.
I think it's a good venue. They did a lot of upgrades, as I was heading out. They did the indoor facility, a lot of things around the stadium to kind of improve the game day experience. But, the size of the stadium is one thing. Going back to Saskatchewan, what I said about Saskatchewan Stadium always being packed, smaller venue, it makes things feel a little more... I don't know if intimate's the right word, but when you have everybody packed in and the stadium feels full, it's a different feeling, right? So, fortunately, I got to play in Commonwealth when it was packed a few times, notably against Saskatchewan that one day, a windy game. But we were selling standing room tickets, and that stadium took on a whole nother persona, and the energy and everything else that day for that game. And unfortunately, packing 68,000, 62, 65, whatever that number is difficult on a consistent basis. So, yeah, there might be some benefit to having something a little smaller to be able to pack the house week in, week out.
I don't know. I don't understand why these presidents and executives can say whatever the hell they want and there's no backlash for it. Like, I think it's reckless for him to say that, because it's just going to make Edmonton football fans want it, or maybe even think that there might be one on the horizon. There's no way that's going to happen.
I'll tell you, the one thing that fixes everything is winning. You start winning ball games, people want to come out, they want to be a part of it. Free agents want to be a part of the organization. So, it's a tough task, and one that I hope that happens this year, but winning fixes a lot of problems.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, chiming in. He says Commonwealth Stadium is nice, but a little big, and terrible sight lines in the lower bowl. Everybody has their own perspective. It was one of my favorite stadiums to broadcast in, if that means anything. It was wonderful sight lines for us. To be honest, I think BC Place was the best. But it's funny you say that, because the Flames need to win to get a new arena there. That's what they want. We've given up on the Stampeders getting a new football stadium. But I did talk to Jones the other day, by the way, and he said the last 2 years have been, I think the way he said it was, they've been something. And I just had to guess. Probably highly stressful, getting through COVID. And to be honest, as an alum that's been following it pretty closely, I don't like that this losing's all been hung on Jones. He inherited the biggest disaster in Edmonton history, almost CFL history.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, and it's nice to see some continuity in the league. Not to say that it was a revolving door before, but it seemed like coaches were moving positions a lot quicker before. Seeing Mike O'Shea in Winnipeg for an extended period of time, love to see that. Love to see, these organizations really committing to staffs, because like Mike O'Shea, Coach Jones knows his stuff. Is he capable to get this thing turned around? Absolutely. Does it happen overnight? No. And I know the fans of Edmonton, us as former players, we want things turned around quicker and faster 9 times out of 10, but he's fully capable of doing it. And, when you let go of staffs, it's 2 steps back, 3 steps back, 4 steps back, bringing somebody new in and trying to build from the ground up again. So, I like to see that Coach Jones is there again. And like I said, hopefully turn this thing around.
Can't keep firing people. I'm
Nope.
with you. I'm with
Nope.
you. Andrew Nowacki is with us, Edmonton Eskimos alum, Murray State alum. Are you good to talk a little NFL next segment?
Yeah,
I know you're
absolutely.
all over that. Andrew Nowacki is with us, and I promised we would talk some NFL, but there are CFL questions coming in too. Andrew can handle them all. If he doesn't freeze to death over here. Are you still on the Celsius scale, or have you've been Fahrenheit for a while?
Yeah.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
I'm still on Celsius, and I say I always will be. It's 22 Celsius.
But it's windy.
Extremely windy.
And explain this to me. If it's 22 Celsius, it's 70 whatever degrees, but this wind is blowing the way it is, why wouldn't they just say it's 60 degrees outside? Because it doesn't feel 70. It doesn't feel 22.
I know, right?
This wind is whipping out here.
73 Fahrenheit, and with the wind, it feels 73.
Nah, see, I'm challenging that.
That's what it said. I got to check the wind. At least 60 mile an hour wind, I would think. I hope it usually, if it's like Saskatchewan, and I don't know, but it usually dies down in the evening. At least it does at home. I don't know
Hopefully
about
it
here.
will.
Hopefully it will, yeah. I'll get to those CFL questions in a second, but at the Thursday night football game, a battle of 7-7 teams in the NFL. Bet Regal all over it, our official betting partner. New Orleans at the Rams. I got to check the betting line on it. But it's funny, Andrew, because this country, and a lot of Canada now too, is goo-goo gaga over the NFL. We're just getting into the exciting games. We're just getting into it.
Yep.
Do you have
It's a crunch time?
Right. Do you have a read on this one tonight? Saints at Rams?
You know, I don't. I've kind of stayed with the local team and following the Dolphins pretty closely this year and everything they're doing. So I haven't seen either one of those teams really play much this season. But you know, it seems like they both have their challenges and out in LA, they're, you know, we know what McVay does out there and the explosiveness of his scheme and offense and that. So it should be exciting. Hopefully they put up some big numbers and lots of points.
I say this, and I've been doing sports broadcasting a long time. There's always a reason to watch any given game. Sometimes you have to dig a little further to find it, but you can find it in this one tonight. Both teams 7-7. You mentioned the Rams, just a couple of years removed from winning a Super Bowl, and the Saints are going after a division crown. So they'll be getting after it tonight. That's the one thing about pro football. There's no throwaway games. I don't care when it is.
Yep, it's football at any level. College, you know, NFL, it's CFL the same with division games and everything. So every week matters, and that's the neat thing about it. That's what keeps things interesting week in, week out.
And it does roll nicely into my next question for you. It's what I love about Andrew because of his resume. He can talk all levels of ball. Nathan Rourke going to the New England Patriots, claimed off Jacksonville's practice roster after being waived 3 times. From Oakville, Ontario. The Patriots are 3-11. How much of a chance do you think? I guess they have to activate in the next 3 weeks, they say.
Right.
You think we see him?
I don't know. That's a tough situation. You know, going to a new team, new system, new scheme, new chemistry with new players. That's asking a lot, you know, to have him step in and be productive. Hopefully he does get an opportunity and hopefully he does do well. And that's all it is, right? It's another opportunity. And from what I've seen and from the outside, from a fan's perspective, it seems like New England can use some help and maybe a new voice in the huddle. And Nathan did amazing things in the preseason. You know, I wish it's all about the fit. It's all about the system, getting the right quarterback, being in the right situation to really flourish. And, you know, him being in Jacksonville, we knew he wasn't going to get a ton of playing time there. But, you know, hopefully the door opens for him in New England and he gets to prove himself there.
Just chiming in with some audience comments and questions. Jen from the Four Seasons says, I love the NFL. Yes, I think everybody does. And we can sit and talk about a variety of topics for a very long time. The one thing about Nathan Rourke, you and I are talking about players. I'm talking about this young gentleman over here. He plays hockey, but it's about being ready when you have an opportunity and answering the bell. Nathan Rourke every time he's been called upon, he's answered the bell. And that's what I love about him. There's a lot of football guys, Andrew, that are beside themselves that he hasn't had an opportunity yet. But you know yourself about just staying ready. Yep. It's got to be hard to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. It's opportunity. When an opportunity knocks, you gotta be ready. Whether that's a situation, like Nathan's in, where he's waiting for that opportunity to get on the field. I know for me, when I played, I was a very situational role type guy. Didn't get to see the ball a whole bunch, but
field wide out.
Right. But when the ball was thrown my way, better come down with a catch.
And you did.
And make things happen. So it's all about staying in the moment, in the situation, whatever that is, whether it's in a game, whether it's in an organization, waiting for your turn to be called upon, because we all know in football you're one play away. Things happen in a hurry, so you better be ready to go.
It's funny. How long did it take you to say, this is my job, this is what I need to do?
I think for me, when I played, right away. I mean, I came into a team with Ed Hervey, Jason Tucker, Mookie came over, Terry was there the first year, so
Terry Vaughn.
So it's not like, you find your place really quick. And, I found my place and realized my role was going to be with that team and that group of receivers. And, you either accept it or you don't. And if you don't, you find the door really quick. So, it was easy to.
Was there a Canadian ahead of you in that bunch?
When I got there, Scott Robinson was there, and Scott had been with the team for a few years prior, won the Grey Cup with the team in 2002. So, there was a couple guys. Brock Ralph was there. And then, when I did kind of get my foot in the door and in that 2005 season, I just tried to make it really hard for them to replace me, try to do all the little things and more on special teams and that sort of thing. So, there's always competition coming in, year out. But
won a championship. Yeah. Do you have a take on what a lot of football fans do, especially our audience in Canada, that Nathan Rourke hasn't had his chance yet? He has not taken a regular season snap. You can imagine, the CFL well. You're from Canada. Fans are saying, just come back to Canada. Ricky Ray did it. Come back and make money here and start. Nathan doesn't seem to be interested in doing that. I don't think he is.
And that could change from year to year, right? As a competitor, which I know Nathan is watching him, he has a goal right now. It seems to be on an NFL roster and be playing on an NFL team. And that may change after another year or 2 years. And, he may want the ball in his hand rather than sitting behind somebody if the situation and the opportunity doesn't present itself. But, you get one go around at this thing. And, he's in a situation where he's getting closer. He's inching closer to his goal of being on the field for an NFL team, and he should stick with it. And every year he'll reassess, I'm sure, and figure out what he wants to do next.
Answer me this, please. How much of a consideration is the money? Because it's a lot different than Ricky Ray and Dave Dickinson were coming down, it was 20 years ago, and then deciding to go back to the CFL to now. How much is it a consideration for a player versus the playing time?
Sure, it's a balance between the two. Some people solely want to go after the money, and others say, well, I'd rather make less and be on the field and be the guy and be the quarterback winning championships and that sort of thing. And that changes. That changes from year to year, season to season. So you can't fault anybody for either. This game is very short-lived. So doing what's best for you for the long term, setting yourself up financially is a priority for a lot of people. And then, after that happens, then you get to make other decisions.
You mentioned the Dolphins. You're following them closely. 10-4. Nobody's called them yet the greatest show on turf, but I will. They're doing some unbelievable things. but they've taken some punches in the mouth too.
Sure.
Right? So what's your prognostication for the Dolphins? As we sit here today, I don't believe that they're the number one seed in the AFC, but they're close. What's possible for this team, do you think?
Talking about week to week, how every game matters, they're going to have a tough stretch to finish the season. I think they got, Dallas, Baltimore, Buffalo. And all three of those games are going to matter for all three of those teams. So, it's not like anybody's taken any weeks off their opponent-wise. And I think Miami they're amazing. They're fun to watch. They're entertaining. Hopefully they can get key pieces healthy, get everybody back on the field. You got to be playing your best football when your playoff time rolls around, and hopefully that's the case. They get their key guys back, and hopefully we can make some noise.
That's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, hopefully they make some noise in the playoffs.
Tells you whose team he's on now, obviously. But what about the offense that Mike McDaniel has brought to Miami?
It's brilliant.
Yeah, what do you like about it?
Everything, the unpredictability about it, the constant movement, the mismatches. Football's a very on-the-fly quick decision, split decision making type game. So the way he moves people around, play in, play out, motions, different formations, that sort of thing, it shows. He's freeing up a lot of guys. It's creating big plays, exciting plays, and from a fan's perspective, that's things we love to see. We love to see those big dynamic plays.
You see how Andrew got real excited once we started talking about not just the Dolphins, but the National Football League. I want your take on this, because I don't know the answer to it. I've put it to Reinbold, Jim Barker. The Dolphins and Dallas Cowboys, which, by the way, the Cowboys are my team, have this criticism of, it's been hard for me too, trust me, but that they can beat up on the weaklings, but they can't beat the elite. And in the Dolphins' case, neither one of them can really win on the road either, by the way, especially when they go north into the cold.
Yeah.
Valid criticisms, I would say.
Sure.
I mean, I guess you don't get over that until you do.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think the Dolphins can go north and win in the playoffs?
I think that's why these next 3 weeks are so important for them to secure some home field playoff games. And yeah, the track record throughout the season, they're having difficulties with teams above 500 and winning records or division leaders, whatever it is. But come playoff time, all you got to do is win 3 games, 4 games, and
hard games, but
sure.
Yeah.
But that's when it all matters. So what happens previously with those other 17 games, 18 weeks of the season, none of that matters. You got to go into the playoffs playing your best football, and hopefully that's when the Dolphins, go on a roll and start really showing their full potential in putting complete games together.
Well, that's the one thing that I've noticed decades of doing this is I say the regular season's for lesson learning, and the playoffs are when we see what you learned in the regular season.
Sure.
It's kind of what you've just said.
Yeah.
Right? Hopefully Tyreek Hill is back for the long run. I mean, they didn't need him to beat the weakling New York Jets here on the weekend.
Not just him. I mean, he's a huge part, obviously, in their offense, but they got key guys. I mean, 3 guys in their secondary last week were all out. Corner, 2 starting safeties, all Pro Bowl caliber players, too. So there's a lot of moving components on the offense, on the defense. So you get them healthy, you get everybody on the same page, and, playoff time, things get ramped up. It gets ramped up in meeting rooms. It gets ramped up in practice, the focus level and everything else. So, I think us as Dolphin fans, we're going to be in for a treat.
One last question before I let you go and before you freeze to death. David in Winnipeg. I told you we're very big in Winnipeg. Writes it on the Sober Carpenter. That included CFL, NFL, and college. What's using? That is a tough one.
Well, when they're all on, I got 3 setups.
Do you? You're one of those guys?
I got my 2 TVs, I got laptop, I got iPad, I got football everywhere. And my daughters aren't big fans of it, but if there was only one, I mean, I love college football. I think the atmosphere in college football, 100,000 people in a stadium, is just a different feel. And being lucky enough to go to, big games and big stadiums and big crowds and things like that, and being able to witness that firsthand, it's really neat. So college football would probably be my choice, and I'm excited for the college football playoff this year. There's some great matchups, so excited for that.
Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, yes, absolutely. Well, Andrew, we have reached the end of our time. You survived.
I did.
Thanks for always coming down and helping us out on these special occasion shows. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
All right, enjoy the ball. 8 seasons with the Eskimos, Grey Cup champion Andrew Nowacki.